There are a few things that happens when you are going through any kind of storm in life. Number one is you find out who is real. Number two is you find out what is real. And number three is you find out exactly what is solid in your life and what isn't. And especially on semen retention, and welcome to another Semen Retention Sunday episode here on the Regal Change account. One thing that you'll see whenever you're going through any kind of storm, particularly on semen retention, is that you will be able to make it out of any kind of storm. Okay, of course, there's going to be bad times, there's going to be times where things go up and down, but even the bad times, they're not really bad. Okay, they're not really going to hinder you because they're only going to make you stronger in the long run. And if they don't, then you just didn't learn from the experience. And so something that you need to do and something that you have to do is to ensure that you're going to learn from whatever kind of hardship you're going through. Specifically with lust, because that's really what a lot of the semen retention is about, is conquering lust. It's more about also learning how to tame the inner tyrant so that you do not become subjected to and inducted into this shameful mindset where every time you lust at a woman or every time you have lust for a woman, there's this sense of ferocious and unreasonable sense of shame that just hits you like an avalanche, right? Because a lot of men go through this on semen retention. They'll feel as though even just looking at a woman in a lustful way, like finding her attractive, is wrong. It's like, you're not wrong for finding a woman attractive. There's nothing wrong with seeing a woman and saying, oh yeah, that's a beautiful woman. But if you look at a woman and you're like, oh, I want to f her brains out, that's not the two different things, right? Two very different things. There's a look of admiration or reverence for who the person is and the beauty of the person on the one end, and then on the other end, it's just a complete perverseness of mind, where now it's not necessarily always going to be perverse, because there is that animal instinct where God gave us this animal instinct where we need to just go with it. We need to go into it, and we need to we just feel the need, right? But the thing is sometimes we have to be careful of desires, and we have to be careful of how we approach these desires, because a woman, she's going to do everything that she can to ensure that her survival needs are going to be met. And as a man, you have to recognize that she desires this. Okay? So what do you have to offer? What do you have to give to her? Because the woman is supposed to get something from you. A lot of men want to get something from the woman, right? But that's not how this works exactly. Of course, there's a sharing of energy that happens, but generally speaking, the woman is supposed to get something from the man. Well, this is exactly what I mean when I say that the man has he has something to provide. He has something to give, right? And it's only through because he's the one retaining, right? He's the one retaining his seed. So the woman wants the life force energy from the seed of the man. And they're not going to say this outright exactly, but that's pretty much what it is, right? They want the life force energy, and they want the life creative energy that is in your sack, right? That's pretty much, just be frank. So one thing that you'll have to recognize, though, is you have to be mindful of the cowardice that comes with not trying to transcend these desires, not trying to transcend these fleshly desires specifically. Because if you become too much of a coward in this, you're going to be losing your self-awareness day by day, and you might not even know it. But part of the process sometimes is to go through these kinds of weird times, and I'm not saying you should be a coward at all, but you might feel a bit of cowardice when it comes to approaching some of these tumultuous times, because the relevance of the significance of the hardships and the storms that you're going through are just so great that it can be kind of frightening to confront. And you might not know how to do that. You might not know why to do that. And it's like, well, how exactly are you, how else are you supposed to move forward through the storm, right? Other than just with courage. Well, where your courage is, there also will be a form of godliness that is connected to I was going to say the God, and I like to say the God. People say, oh, it's to God. I mean, for me, I see the God, like it's the Lord, the God. Anyway, kind of a side note, but just going forward, keep that in mind when I say the God. So the God wants you to be pure. The God wants you to be resonant with who you are. He wants you to also be the fullest extension and your fullest potential of who you can be. And retaining allows this to happen, but you might go through kinds of trials and tribulations, but we have to remember that we fight not against the flesh, but of the principalities, right? And this is a spiritual war. Everything's a very spiritual battle. Everything's a very spiritual war. And the one thing that you cannot lose when you are actually on semen retention is it's not your seed, really. It's actually your heart and your mind. If you lose the connection between your heart and your mind, that severs everything. But if you can keep that connection, even if you fall short in these other areas, like if you have like what do they call it? There's like an acronym, a specific acronym for the edging and such, but PMO, that's what it is, PMO. So corn, masturbation, and orgasm, right? If you stay away from PMO, I don't really use that acronym too much. I just know other people have used it and people have found it to be helpful. So perhaps, I don't know who to credit that acronym to, so whoever had that acronym, shout out to them. But yeah, the PMO thing is very important to have under control. And again, it takes that confrontation with the tyrant, but in a negotiative manner. And it's not like you're trying to negotiate with the tyrant necessarily, but you're trying to negotiate with the archetype of the tyrant. Because the tyrant might try to shift blame you into believing that you're betraying yourself when you're actually not. You're actually coming into a fuller version of you. You're actually more aligned with your decency. You're actually more aligned with your humanity. You're actually more aligned with your dignity and your integrity. And yet, these this kind of archetype, if it's not mature, it's gonna really hit you hard. And so, the storms that you go through, whether it's through the PMO, whether it's through struggling with a relationship, maybe your finances or whatnot, all of these are designed to purify you. Okay, everything's designed to purify. And here's the thing, now that is true, but whether it's true or not, if somebody doesn't believe that, whether it's true or not, it's simply for the best that you have this mindset. It's kind of like saying, oh, I'm unlucky. If you say I'm unlucky to yourself, like what's the point? Like, you might as well just say, even if you don't believe in affirmations and whatnot, which I don't think that you can manifest, just by wishing things into existence, because you have to actually work for it. Like, God will bless you, but he'll bless your hands, right? So you've got to work with your hands somehow. You've got to do things, like you have to actually participate in the world, right? We talk a lot about, in the Regal Change Academy group and online school that we have, we talk a lot about how you need to like have these hands-on experiences sometimes, because that's going to be the way to transcend this digital technical era that we're living in. Knowing how to not need the high-tech stuff is going to be the best way to ensure your not only survival but your thrival. Is that a word, thrival? Anyway, you guys get what I'm saying. I kind of just wanted it to rhyme there for a second. But, you know, people often think on semen retention that, like, oh, if I just retain for this many days, like, my life is going to change. And it's like, well, it could be true, but what's most important also is to make this a lifestyle. Okay, and you're going to go through the storms when you make this a lifestyle. It's not like you just it's not like you just come out on the other side of any storm and any, like, you're just, you know, invincible. It's just not like that. And I think the more reverence you have for life and the more grounded you are in reality. We were actually just talking about this too in the Regal Change Academy group. We had the Regal Assembly call earlier. And something that was brought up is, like, by one of the guys in the group, he said that when you're actually connected to nature, like you're gardening or you're doing these lower tech things, you're more integrated in reality. And that means that you're going to be less susceptible to deception because you're actually in reality. And I see this as absolutely the case as well. Like, this is absolutely the case. And the more connected you are to nature, this is why I think going out into nature and meditation and prayer is so important. Like, things like this, it's so important because it helps you stay connected to the force of life itself, meaning the God's will. So the God's will is going to be moving in a certain direction, and you can either go against the grain or you can go with it. And obviously one way is going to be better for your soul than another, but one way is going to be better for your flesh than another, if you believe that. A lot of people will be susceptible to the flesh because they see the present moment, and the devil, this is something I realized last night, the devil wants you to think about the future as this, like, beautiful paradise-like, blissful-esque charade. Because if he can keep your mind occupied on the future, because, like, oh, well, what's in the future, right? What's in the future? Well, the future has ambition. The future has potential love. Like love interest or romantic interest. Future has potential. Like, it's pure potential. And in some ways it's very pure, but the devil can use the idea of future, the idea of what the future has in store against you to keep your mind occupied somewhere other than where you are currently. And it's not about being forgetful, but it's about learning how to forget what doesn't need to be remembered sometimes. Like, of course you need to remember who you are. And with semen retention, it's like everything just becomes more naturally aligned with that. However, it's like anytime anybody wants to, like, appeal to your empathy or your decency or your integrity as a man on semen retention, you're going to be able to notice this. It might be very subtle, though. You have to watch out for this. And I know this because I've experienced this kind of stuff where people can be very subtle in their extortion or their exposing of your credulity. But the only thing that you must truly ponder in those moments, and what you must truly remember, is the lessons. Don't focus on the evil. Don't focus on the malevolence and the maliciousness, but focus on the lessons. And just remember that this is actually something that can happen. So I hope this message was useful and insightful for you. I think that's everything that I want to say in this video. Keep going with the retain gang. I heard somebody say, oh, retain gang. It's like on one of the comments on a semen retention video of mine, and I was just like, retain gang? I mean, this isn't a gang, but it definitely is like a group, I suppose. But anyway, I just thought that was kind of funny. But if you do want to sign up for the Regal Change Academy group and online school that we have, check out the link in the description box below. Or if you want a one-on-one mentorship call with me, if you're going through like, tough times or anything like that, that's where I'm going to be there to be a listening ear and maybe somebody that can maybe guide you to a better place and show you at least what not to do. Because Lord knows I've made plenty of mistakes unnecessarily, and I want to help everybody not make those unnecessary mistakes. So peace be with you all. Until next time.